They say last but not least, but you know, when Congressman Doug Collins made a decision not to run again in the 9th Congressional District, a lot of us questioned, okay, who will the congressman or congresswoman be from the 9th Congressional District? How will we be represented? And I had an opportunity to really follow that campaign, 8 or 9 candidates, opportunity to really follow that campaign at that time. And I made sure every opportunity I got to interview the candidates that I was really tough on the questions, and not disrespectful, but tough on the questions, because I wanted to know, would the 9th District have a conservative representative in D.C.? And you know what? I can proudly tell you today, the 9th District has a conservative representative in D.C. I'm always proud to introduce our Congressman, Andrew Clyde.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. And I think you could probably call me an ultra mega dangerous conservative. because that's what I am. And that's what the 9th District is. The 9th District is a rock solid conservative district. And you know, I'll tell you that I have so enjoyed having Pickens County as part of the 9th District. I am transitioning you reluctantly, okay, to the 11th District, to Barry Loudermilk, but Barry Loudermilk's a good solid conservative too, and a good friend of mine, and so I'm so thankful that that's who you're going to. He will represent you well, but it has been my honor to represent you and to bring the 9th District values to Washington, D.C., to help drain that swamp where truly, I say the rats are currently in control. And I would extend that word to the Democrats who are in control. But November's are coming. November's are coming, ladies and gentlemen. November's are coming. And we're here to encourage people to get out and vote, to talk to your friends and talk to your neighbors, and talk to those you go to church with, to those you work beside, and all during the week. We need to make sure that every solitary person in the current 9th District and in the future 11th District, and those of you who are from Dawson County, and I saw there was a bunch of hands from Dawson County, those of you going to the 6th District, that you guys get out the folks that vote, all right, and vote and put Republicans back in. We can take another seat here in Georgia. We've got 8 right now. We can take the 6th District, and we can take it away from, let's see if I remember right now. It's Lucy McBath, is that right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, who's moving to the 7th District, and Carolyn Bordeaux, who's currently representing the 7th District, lost her primary, so she's not going back. But though Lucy McBath is going back, we can take her district, our current district, the 6th, and we can make 9 Republicans from Georgia instead of 8. You know, maybe, who knows, maybe we'll take the 2nd District, and maybe we'll get 10. But it's going to take Republicans getting out to vote to do that. And that's what we're here to encourage people to get out to vote. I wanted to just say thank you, Brian, for being the host. Here you go. All right. Well, anyway, I want to thank Brian for being the host here and just moving it along so well. And my wife Jennifer, if any of you don't know Jennifer, lovely wife, she loves to go on the campaign trail with me, and especially when we get up to the northern part of the district, because it's so beautiful up here. You know, it's such a reprieve from when we have to spend time in Washington, D.C. You know, this district is kind of like detoxification, if you will. But Brian, you missed it, but I said thank you to you for being an awesome host. I just want to touch on a couple of issues that we have experienced, and then I want to give you the plan ahead. Barry told you just a little bit about it. He kind of reserved that for me to tell you what we as Republicans have in mind, and we've been working on it for about a year. We've had 7 task forces working on this legislation, and I think we have a good plan to move this country forward and to do what really needs to be done to put us back on track. Because as we have seen in the last year and a half, we are not on track. Our country is not going the direction that it needs to go. We have had 40-year high inflation, and you can see going from the grocery store to the gas station, to just a regular department store, you see inflation literally out of control. And you have seen gas prices, the highest that literally I have seen in my lifetime. I was in Northern Virginia, and I saw gas at $5.79 a gallon in Northern Virginia. Now it's come down a little bit. We've all seen that. And we kind of wonder, well, why did that happen? Why has that happened? And I can tell you that it has nothing to do with President Biden. In fact, it's President Biden's energy policies. It was his cancellation of the Keystone XL pipeline. It was his pause on oil and gas leases on federal lands in order to review the lease program that caused the market to skyrocket in prices, because gasoline, the price of oil is on the futures market. Whatever is expected to happen in the future affects right now. And so 2 weeks ago, some of you may have seen it in the news, but there was a Louisiana judge, one of those beautiful judges that President Trump put into office. Honestly, I think President Trump's legacy, I'm looking forward to 2024. Right? I'm looking forward to not just 145, I'm looking forward to 245s. Okay? But I think his legacy will be the fact that he put such an incredible judiciary into this country, having the Senate confirm over 200 judges and 3 Supreme Court justices. That will be the legacy that is protecting our nation right now. And so this Louisiana judge, what he did was he issued a permanent injunction against President Biden's pause on federal oil and gas leases. And yet he said, I'm sorry, Mr. President, you do not have the authority to pause oil and gas leases. Congress wrote a law, the president at the time signed it, and that law said that oil and gas leases must occur every quarter to energy companies so that federal lands, the resources on federal lands, can be used to benefit the people of the United States. And President Biden said, well, we'll just pause that. Well, you don't have the authority to pause it, but what Congress can pause it if Congress wants to, and you can certainly review it. But whatever you find out in your review, you're welcome to give to Congress to see if Congress wants to do something about it. But you are not welcome to stop oil and gas leases. So that was a huge, huge win for us when it came to the energy policy of our country. And as a result, you're seeing the effect of the gas pump. You're seeing prices come down a little bit. So that's just one of the things when you see an illegal executive order by the President of the United States reversed by a court. But how long did it take? It took a year and 8 months for that to happen. We have suffered for that long because of President Biden's illegitimate policies, because of the executive orders that he has written. Just like what we're seeing, we're seeing problems with inflation, we're seeing lawlessness on the southern border. And that goes directly back to President Biden's policies. When he said we are going to stop building the border wall, he really doesn't have the authority to do that. But, again, it takes now the court to override him. We do not have the ability in Congress to do it, but the courts can do it. And as a result, what we're seeing is, as was mentioned by the good captain, we are seeing people die from fentanyl poisoning. The greatest amount of fentanyl that we have seen come into our country in years. In fact, last month it was over 2,100 pounds was caught at the southern border. The greatest amount of fentanyl in the last 4 years over the period of 1 month. So this type of thing is what's killing us as a nation. So I want to now kind of transition to what's the solution? What's the solution? What have the Republicans been working on? And so, our vision is called the Commitment to America. It's taken a little bit from the Contract with America, and as Congressman Loudermilk said, we had Newt Gingrich in, and we said, Newt, help us out here. Give us some of your wisdom of what you've learned with the Contract with America, so we can do something a little better than that, and we can be more successful than the Contract with America. It's called the Commitment with America to America. It's formed around 4 basic pillars. It's formed around an economy that's strong, a nation that's safe, a future that's free, and a government, and I love this one, and a government that is accountable. Accountable to the people of the United States. So those are the 4 pillars of the Commitment to America. And you're going to see next week, we're going to have a rollout of that. So I'm giving you guys a little bit of a peek under the tent, a preview. To have an economy that's strong, we must tackle inflation. Because inflation is killing everyone in their pocketbooks. I did a poll on my last telephone town hall, and I said, are you better off now than you were a couple of years ago? Is inflation affecting you? And 80% of the people that came back said inflation is having a significant negative effect on our family's budget. That is not surprising from what we're seeing. So to tackle inflation, we must reduce government spending. Because government spending is what's been driving inflation. We must continue to drive pro-growth tax policies that boost local businesses and encourage economic development. We must get people back to working again. Because that's, as you can see, there are help wanted signs still all over the place. Because our economy needs people to work. People that work produce products. Availability of products will help reduce inflation. And then we need to get people off welfare. Finally, we need to regain our energy independence, which will lower gas prices. Because the cost of energy affects everything we do across the board, whether it's food prices that we've seen at the grocery store, or whether it's the automobile part that you need for your car. Everything is affected by energy costs because the transportation that's required. Everything moves. And then we are committed to having a nation that's safe. And to do that, we must combat illegal immigration. We have to build a wall on the southern border. In fact, that will be probably the #1 piece of legislation right there that comes right out of the chute when we take back the House in November, because November's are coming. The #1 piece of legislation will be to refund the border wall and require the president to again start completing the border wall. And we have seen pictures after picture of just border wall fencing laying there, rusting, doing absolutely nothing. That has to go back in place. And we know from the Border Patrol, from when I've spoken with them and when they've been just talking to the American people, that a 2-mile section of border wall only takes 1 border agent to control. Where there's no border wall, it takes 8 border agents to control. 8. So it's an 8 times benefit to have a wall over when it isn't. And then we have to stop catch and release, and we have to require a remain in Mexico policy. So if they want to come and they want asylum here in the United States, they have to remain in Mexico, not get released into the United States for the 2 or 3 years that it takes them in order to have their asylum hearing. Because 90% of the people that are coming here for asylum, they get rejected. It's not a legal request for asylum. And then to have a future that's free, we have to combat big tech. We have to make sure that big tech does not collude with the government and cancel our voice, because that's exactly what's happening right now. And then finally, we need a government that's accountable. That means tackling this IRS issue. It's 87,000 new IRS agents. Let me tell you something. They're not going to be going after the billionaires. They're going to be coming after you and me. And from someone who has had a personal experience with the IRS, easy and it's not cheap when the IRS comes after you. It is a long and arduous battle that is very expensive. And when we take back the House in November, we are going to defund this issue. That's not what America needs. And then, I'm on the Oversight Committee. The Oversight and the Judiciary Committee are going to be the two spears into the Biden administration to hold them accountable. We're going to open them wide open and expose the corruption that's there. And that starts with the Department of Justice. That starts with the FBI. We're going to pull them apart like a puzzle, and we're going to examine each piece under a microscope, and we're going to show the American people exactly what's there. Because that's what has to happen to stop them putting their foot on the scale of justice. I do not consider that a law enforcement agency like I consider our local law enforcement. They are not one side or the other on the political spectrum. But when the Department of Justice and the FBI does, then that's a great example. Then in my opinion, they have not kept to their oath. So with that, I see the hook is here. So Brian, it's been an honor to represent you as the 9th District. And here you go.
Wait a minute. First of all, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Well, you answered all my questions, but really quick, isn't there like an issue of like a fine or something that Nancy Pelosi said? Can you update us on where you stand with your fine?
I will. I was one of the first members of the House of Representatives to be fined for walking around for magnetometers, because the 27th Amendment of the Constitution says that you cannot vary a member's pay either up or down during a congressional session without a vote, of the people in between. And then it also says that you cannot prevent a person from taking their vote, from their people's vote, to the House floor. And when you have to go through a magnetometer, it delays you, and there have been a number of members, including myself, I missed a vote, simply because of the delay, the line going through a magnetometer, and it's just unconstitutional. So I decided that I would fight that, but in order to fight it, I had to get fined. I had to have the ability to have a standing. I guess it's called legal standing, and the lawyer here will understand that. You have to have legal standing, so you have to have an injury. So in order to have an injury, I had to get a financial injury. I had to get fined. So I did that purposefully, and the fine cannot come out of your either your member's allowance, the money you use to run your office. It cannot come out of your campaign funds. It has to come out of your personal money, the money that you receive as a member of Congress to do your job. But when it talked about that, it said it has to come out of the net pay. Net pay, not gross pay, but net pay. What's net pay? Net pay is paid after taxes. I said, okay, all right, so I have to get fined on net pay. Well, if I don't pay the fine voluntarily, and by the way, the fine now is up to $118,000, okay? So if I don't pay it voluntarily, then I will get, have my congressional pay censured, and it will be taken from me involuntarily. It will be seized from me involuntarily. But it has to come out of net pay. So I said, okay, great. So I increased my federal tax withholding until my net pay was $1.04. What you don't want to do is you don't want to mess with the small businessman, all right? And so now I have now for about 12 months paid $1.04 a month to pay off this $118,000 fine. It will take centuries being a member of Congress for Nancy Pelosi to get her money out of this guy. But, then at the end of the tax year, I simply file my tax return. I have overpaid my federal taxes. I get it all back. It was kind of a fun thing. And so there's your answer, Brian.
I thought they would enjoy that story. All right, folks, thank you, Congressman Andrew Clyde.